some people are starting to get their toes wet in a kiddie pool, right? And some people can swim in a normal swimming pool. But other people are also swimming in the ocean. And the ocean that I'm referring to is, in this case, the intersectionality of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Whereas it's impossible to ask people who are just dipping their toes or trying to dip their toes in the kiddie pool to ask them to make a jump in the ocean. I mean, I know how to swim, and I'm beyond. I can swim in a swimming pool, but to be able to swim in the DEI ocean, where there are so many things that you have to understand and so many things that you have to learn, I wanted to create something that is tangible and that is accelerating people from where they are at so that they can be an excellent swimmer in the ocean.
So talk a little bit about virtual reality and give us a kind of a feeling of what would a person feel? What are the scenarios that they would go through? And how do you include it in your training?
So there are different scenarios of virtual reality, different programs of virtual reality. You have the cartoon version. You have a version that feels like it's a robot, but the version that I'm using is basically you are beamed up in the system in your mind where you wear those glasses and you are the other person. You are the person who's being uttered. And what makes it so real that you close yourself off from other surroundings and your brain, not I, but your brain really thinks that you are experiencing all these things that the other person is experiencing, right? So in that case, it might be microaggression or somebody saying something bad to you or somebody making you feel small or making you feel big. And there are all these hidden signals that bystanders don't see because it's happening to you alone. And when you alone are facing all these little things, and it happens within 5 minutes, it's not a long video, but the impact of seeing that, the impact of going through that world, it stays a very long time. And that's why I call this tool the empathy unlocker. For a lot of people, they don't know what it feels like to deal with racism. They don't know what it feels like to walk in through the workplace where, so for some people, it can feel like they're walking on landmines and they don't know where the landmines are set, but they also don't know when the landmines are going to blow, right? So another way that I love to phrase it is like putting your hand in the killer beehive, not knowing, yes, I'm very visual, so not knowing when they are going to sting, or maybe some of them are mad, or maybe all of them are mad, right? And when you get that, you could get to understand what microaggression feels like. But imagine that every day somebody, and every time somebody's being stung, and we are trying to tell them, why are you getting angry? It's just Peter, he's making a joke. But what if you're meeting 100 Peters at one day? How would you feel if you're being stung 100 times? And I wanted to give people something tangible to really transform what I'm saying, right? Because different people consume information in different ways. You have people that love audio, you have people that love reading, but to be able to listen and to see at the same time, and you closing your mind, yourself off to experience this thing, it will unlock so many emotions within you that some people left the scenario with saying, I got so angry. Some people left the scenario saying, I understand I understand my child better who is autistic. Some people left with, I did not know. And it creates an understanding where we can now dive a little deeper. We can skip a few lanes to dive deeper instead of having the conversation, well, we don't we are not like that, or Jane is not like that, or Peter is not like that, or Jan is not like that. We can dive deeper and say, okay, next time when I see something, I now know what to look for because I've seen and I've experienced the hidden signals. Can we capture all the microaggressions? No. But for you to be able to experience this experience, which will never leave you, that is where the magic lies.
So, I have a favorite saying that, you can't get anyone to really change, if they've never tasted rice, how do you describe to a person what it tastes like to have rice and to eat rice? The only way is that they have to experience it. And so if I hear you right, if I understand what you're saying, by putting on the glasses and walking through the scenario in 5 minutes, a person actually now is kind of eating rice. They walk away understanding that. So how do you incorporate that into diversity training or leadership training in general?
It's a great way to start off the sessions with VR. So I first, depending of course on the topic which I'm starting it, but I can give you a sample scenarios, the inclusive leadership scenario where people want to learn what it means to become an inclusive leader. What are the pitfalls of you thinking that you're an inclusive leader? And from there, a few people are going to wear the glasses because we want to mimic what happens in the workplace, right? Not everybody is going to experience that because, again, we want to mimic. Once people remove their glasses, they see a difference. The bystanders see a difference, but also the people that went through the scenario see a difference. And the different emotions, the way they react, but also the distaste that people have in their mouth of going through something that painful or something that is enlightening, it still is going beyond. And that's after that, we are going to have a conversation about, let's get into action, because now that you have seen, you cannot unsee what you have seen right now. So what would you do when you're facing this scenario? What can I give you, but also what can we give to each other to prevent this from happening? So in a way, it's a safer way to go through a bad situation without even acting or without making it real, if you get what I'm saying.
So once they've done this, what is the difference between what you did before, where you didn't have the program, and then post the program? Are you seeing any tangible results?
Yeah, I see people taking action, bringing it with them, but also to be more concrete. I don't have to convince people anymore about what other people are going through. I don't have to convince that being a transgender, whatever transgender you are, man or woman, that transgenders face different challenges. And for people to understand that is happening, or somebody who is in a wheelchair, who is dealing with so many barriers that we as able-bodied people are not dealing with. So for us to have the opportunity to literally exchange our shoes for the other person's shoes and literally walk a mile in their shoes is a valuable gift that we can give each other to become more inclusive.
How did you take a leap to even start this technology? What brought you to the place where you wanted to experiment with this?
Yeah, so I have a partner. She was the one who literally kept bugging me, saying that I have something, we can work together, we can do this. And the first time when I went through this whole experience, I was just like, are you going to bankrupt me? Because of this whole scenario, I don't know if I have any work to do. But I put on my growth mind thinking, right? I activated my growth mind thinking, and I thought, I saw an opportunity for those who don't understand, or for those who are doubting, or for those who never faced any isms or certain isms in the workplace, it can create understanding. And when people reach that level from understanding or level from awareness, that's when we can have a deeper conversation. So for me, it saves time. It saves time because I'm giving them the gift to really learn how it feels like, right? And mind you, there are so many books, there are so many videos out there, but still we're dealing with a huge D&I challenge in the workplace. So what if we can accelerate? What if we can do it in a way that is cost effective? What if we can do it in a way that is human? What if we can do it in a way that we inspire people to come up with their own solutions instead of handing solutions? Because I don't believe in that. I'm believing the power of creating that solution from within. And what if you could use the future and some things from the past and the present, combine that together and create a holistic way of training people, doing preventive training, doing impactful D&I training, and also be mindful. HBR shared an article, I think last year or the year before, because I don't know when, 2020 or 21, it shared an article saying that a lot of unconscious bias training are not working. They are stopping where they should continue. And this tool is doing exactly that. This tool is activating people. And at the end of the day, I'm not leaving if people are not taking action or making that commitment towards themselves. And I'm not leaving if people are not having some accountable goals for today, but also for the upcoming 3 months, because otherwise I haven't done my work.
Afterwards, are you seeing any negative kinds of things that happen? You know, this VR technology is kind of new. And some of the scenarios could be quite intense.
Yeah.
So when I first went to, was in Tokyo in Japan, I was in with a group of other people. And I remember myself and another Black woman, we were sharing a room. And some of our white male counterparts were knocking at the door at 2:00 in the morning going, we now understand what it's like to be discriminated against, because they got discriminated against.
Yeah.
It led to a very good conversation. But on the other side, I wonder with this technology, because it is so real and it does trick the mind into thinking that what they see is real, the experiences, the feelings are there. Are you seeing any issues, or have you seen in the research or literature, were there any issues in terms of people holding on, or it being traumatic for them, or other kinds of backlashes?
The collaboration that I have with my partner is we always ask a few questions or let people fill in a survey for them to permit us to go through this experience. And there are certain scenarios where we ask the person if we can touch them. We don't do that with women because I don't want to open up any Pandora's box. And my partner did it with me, though. When she tested it, she did it with me. And we then got to our understanding that we can never do this. And when we are doing it with men, we need to ask them for their permission, because it can open up Pandora's box. It can unlock trauma. It can unlock triggers. But we also make sure that we follow up. We follow up with a coach. We ask them if everything is okay, because everything that you saw today, it can be still triggering within a few months. So we try to follow up once per quarter, ask, how is everybody? How are you feeling? Because the follow-up part is very important. And you don't know what somebody has been through. Maybe somebody has locked a bad experience or a bad experience in a box, and it can be triggered. I haven't seen any studies around this, because this way of training is relatively new. But what I have seen is the downside of VR, not with DEI training, but VR not being used properly, but also other companies are not being authentic when it comes to VR. And I should give you more context. I'm not going to name the company because I don't want to discredit them, but putting Black people, so they use a cartoon. They use a Black person in a cartoon, but the voices were not white, but Black people. and they got exposed out of that. People can sense that, and people can see that, and it's better when you're doing those scenarios to hire actors from different spectrums, from different ethnicities, from different the whole intersectionality, because my lens can never be your lens, and it can never be Denise's lens as well. So for people to be able to get that connection, that is valuable for using real people to get those scenarios.
So this sounds so promising in terms of having impact, not just in the area of DEI, but also just in the way we think about developing leaders and any area in which we're trying to improve that human-to-human connection in the workplace, or even helping other individuals do some other things. What other opportunities do you see on the horizon in terms of using this technology?
I mean, the way that the Air Forces are using this right now to train their people, they don't really have to go out in the field or step into an airplane and train there. They're really mimicking those scenarios. And as a leader, for you to be able to see the different scenarios that comes up on your plate, where you already have a toolkit so that you know what to do, when to do, and where to go, is better. In the Netherlands right now, Me Too is very trending topic. And unfortunately, the way some high bosses responded was, this person was a very valuable person. He meant a lot in the football scenario, not saying anything about what he did and how bad what he did caused others to open up or to be open, because as a victim, it's never easy to open up and to go through that scenario publicly, saying that how people are highlighting that person. That's where I feel like VR can be definitely something valuable, that HR or managers can have a conversation in what to do when somebody stands next to your desk and say something inappropriate happened.
Yeah. So, I'm going to open it up a little bit before we go into the chat. So just so everyone kind of gets a bit of it, if you've got a question or a comment, put it in the chat for us today so that we can kind of hear what you're thinking and how this has landed on you.
And Pam actually had a question, Denise, which I'm happy to read. Or Pam, you're welcome to come off mute and speak if you'd like. But I think Pam's question is really, really insightful.
When I heard it, my first reaction was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like, whoo, yeah, they get to experience it. My second thought was, oh man, there's going to be people that retaliate against having been put through that experience. And not, I mean, here you've been through it and you know what it's like, but you take somebody who maybe in their mind goes, I've never done this to anybody else. And now you're putting them through this scenario and they're experiencing it and it traumatizes them, that there's going to be a backlash. And the reason I bring it up is I know that there was some training that happened here at Smith College, making people kind of live it. And it had huge backlash. And so just curious, that debrief process or that precursor process to explain to people what's going on and what to do with that potential trauma if something were to happen, or can somebody opt out?
We always bring a third party coach, or we ask the client if they have an internal coach to support them as well. But I mean, what we cannot be responsible or held accountable for is knowing what happened afterwards. We only can do the follow-up and ask them is everything okay, and also put an emphasis on the fact that we have to be very careful. So if somebody doesn't wish to go to that program, they can be a bystander. They have the opportunity to be a bystander. So the majority is a bystander, but from a bystander's perspective, what I've seen so far, just to see you as a happy person putting on those glasses and to see you change, because your facial expression, your body expression. There are so many things that are happening that people are shocked, even when they haven't put on those glasses. So there's a lot happening that people see. And sometimes these are the hidden things that you might not see when you're putting, when you're putting people on a microscope and showing them the different expressions, the different emotions that comes into play when a scenario happens.
I mean, it doesn't sound like you do everybody in the room. You get volunteers that would step up. And
we
then
nominate people depending on, we allow the client to nominate people, and depending, of course, on the topic. If it's about sexual intimidation, we are nominating a lot of men to be put up front, because, to be honest, there are a lot of men who are hurting people. So that's one of the things. But also we will ask a few women to join. But from a bystander's perspective, believe me, you are seeing a lot, and you are learning a lot from the conversations that we have before and after.
Can you share with us a little bit of the conversation after people have seen it? So what are you hearing from people? What are, particularly the bystanders? I mean, I can kind of think about what if I had the glasses on or I was going through the experience, because I've gone through enough experiences. I know what I would think. But to be able to hear, I guess, what I'm talking about, those people who are actually standing there, what are they saying? What's going in?
Different things popped up, like, did Peter do that really? Are you sure that you went through that? Or have you spoken to HR about this? And you hear a lot of comments being made regarding the department or regarding going to the manager. But what is less common and has been rare is asking the victim, how are you? How can I support you?
Wow. Okay.
It makes it visible of how we are thinking.
And for that person who had the glasses on, right? That suddenly they feel the impact of all those questions of people saying, you should go to HR. But
also the people in the room feel that.
Yeah. So they're actually experiencing it on that level. Wow.
Yeah.